the blessings of Her Holiness Satguru Mata Sudikhsha Ji Maharaj. It's my privilege to welcome you to the first edition of the English language podcast, Soul Vibes.
Soul Vibes.
Soul Vibes is Satguru Mataji's gift to us all, to inspire us towards enriching our lives. This podcast is a platform through which we can connect to our true essence, strengthen our relationship with the super soul, and spread positive vibes along our spiritual journey. And keeping with the current time of social distancing, this podcast has been recorded entirely virtually through Zoom. Sant Nirankari from the West Midlands in the United Kingdom. I'm Sangeeta Tut, and I am joined by Brother Preethanand from East London.
Nirankari, and a warm loving welcome to all our listeners who have tuned in to this Soul Vibes podcast. With the grace of Satguru Mata Sudikhsha Ji Maharaj, this is the first in a series of monthly podcasts dedicated to discussions which reflect upon practical spirituality in our everyday lives. Each month, our listeners will be able to tune in and be part of engaging discussions, and also be able to listen to uplifting poetry and some amazing music. I'm really excited about Soul Vibes.
Same here, Preet. What an amazing blessing from Satguru for all of us. Today, we will be joined by Brother Puneet Ahuja from Birmingham and Sister Sunarika Sahuta from Leicester. They will be sharing their experiences with us on the theme of love, and in particular, their experiences since last March when this pandemic commenced.
Speaking of March, throughout this month, we have been expressing our gratitude towards Satguru Mata Sudikhsha Ji Maharaj and reflecting upon her benevolent grace. This has truly been a month dedicated to the celebration of our love and our devotion towards Her Holiness Satguru Mataji.
It's because of the grace of Her Holiness that we have a connection with the divine, based on devotional love, Prema Bhakti. When we talk about love and devotion, we remember Satguru Mataji's words that it starts with loving Nirankari and loving the divinity within each person. Babaji often shared, however we choose to express our love, just make sure you love well in time.
Well in time. Babaji playing on the word Valentine. I remember Babaji emphasized the need to know the Almighty God well in time, and to let love for the Lord become established within the heart well in time. And when thinking about love, both Her Holiness Mata Savinder Ji and His Holiness Baba Hardev Singh Ji always come to mind. Where Her Holiness Mata Savinder Ji was strength personified and guided us to take strength from Nirankari, she equally expressed Babaji's greatness in the most beautiful way. He was
love personified. He personified love because His every breath, His every thought, His every word, and His every action was love. Today, Satguru Mataji is that same personification of love, and she is also showering that same love all around. In fact, thinking about Satguru Mataji, don't you think she is both love personified and strength personified?
Absolutely. Satguru Mata Sudikhsha Ji Maharaj is a combined mixture of both love and strength personified. In fact, I would say in addition to this, Satguru Mataji is stability personified.
Exactly, stability personified. Satguru Mataji guides us to be steadfast in our love for Nirankari.
On that note, we hear that poetry is an expression of love. So let us hear a poem on the theme of divine love from Sister Serena Nagar from West London.
This is divine love, to see the dewdrops in the morning air, and to find your beloved hiding there, to be light of mind and full of grace, to be found in no mind and lost in this space. I was once so afraid, I wandered and roamed, until the day that love entered my home. My mind was fraught with anguish and greed, but you stilled my world, and my mind was freed. In this tale of love, no words arise. It is spoken with tears that fall from our eyes. When a heart meets love, it is changed forever. A bond is forged that cannot be severed. It cannot go back, it cannot return. Once love has entered, the heart is burned. So be like the smoke that continues to rise, that defies the limits of the skies. Be like the ashes that touch the floor, carried by the wind to the beloved's door. Though Majnu weeps, do not be deceived. In every atom his Layla breathes. Though time and space still govern this world, love is a state where the Galandhar whirls. So be like the embers, be like the flame, and whatever remains, we are one and the same.
What a beautiful poem! The reference to Leila Majnu, fondly remembered as the Romeo and Juliet of the East, is so poetic. I love how Serena has expressed the love of the soul for God in this way. Sangeeta, love has so many different facets and means different things to different people. For me, love is spiritual and means devotion, passion, loving God, and building a relationship with this Lord.
Yeah, for me, love is expressing that spiritual love in action through a smile and giving happiness to others and being compassionate. Depending upon our life experiences and where we are on our journey, our perspectives on love will differ.
Sangeeta, would you agree that the kindness and selflessness which this pandemic has brought out in people is a form of love and compassion?
Absolutely. We've seen love flowing through the actions of key workers, supportive neighbours, and generally those who have selflessly given their time to others. Where would we be, Preet, if we didn't protect one another or make sacrifices?
Exactly. As Madonna expressed in her song, love makes the world go round.
And love has literally made the world go round.
I recall Babaji expressing that if we cease to love,
we cease to live.
Exactly, we cease to live. Sangeeta, you spoke about love in action. On this theme, we're lucky to have Brother Puneet with us from Birmingham, who during this pandemic has been actively displaying love through kindness and support. Puneet, welcome and Dhan Nirankari.
Dhan Nirankari, everyone.
Dhan Nirankari, Puneet. Since COVID struck last March, you've volunteered your time to support a telephone-based befriending service through the charity Age Concern UK. Could you talk us through what your work entails and how it impacts the people that you support?
This was the time of the first lockdown. I was on furlough, and this all came about because I got a text from Kuldeep Uncle saying that there was a seva to go and buy some groceries for a vulnerable person of the wider community who was too scared to leave the house because of, they were vulnerable. And so I went and picked up the groceries and dropped them off at her house and talked to her from a distance. And it turns out that she had got the number for the Center of Oneness, the contact details, from a notepad that she had. And she had been given this as a part of a goodie bag that we give when we have the elderly come every year from the local community to come and sit and have a Christmas lunch at the Center of Oneness. We host that every year. And that, was amazing that she found that she could feel, comfortable enough to contact us to provide and give her the support that she needed. And I realized that, on my way back from that, coming back from that, that, there was a greater need for this. And that's how I ended up joining Age Concern UK's befriending service. And so essentially, I'm calling various people, pensioners between their 60s and 80s on a weekly basis to basically just talk to them and bring some positivity into their lives. And you have to understand, when I started this was the height of the lockdown. People were isolated with no human contact. There was issues of loneliness. There was issues of dealing with depression. For some of these people, they were grieving because they had just lost either a mother or a aunt or a friend due to COVID, right? And my phone call to them for sometimes would be the only contact that they'd have in days. So it had, I would imagine, it's had a very good impact for all of the volunteers that do this befriending service.
Puneet, that is really inspiring. However, I am intrigued. During lockdown, you could have spent your time in so many other ways. Why did you choose to do this? What was your motivation?
Well, I always have this thing in my mind about how do you show your love to God? Your prayers are for yourself, right? You can't, hug the formless. So in my mind, the only way to show your appreciation for everything that you've been blessed with is by loving God's creation. And, I considered a small contribution doing this work, considering with, all that I've been blessed with.
That's amazing, using your time to give back. But how did you connect with complete strangers? I can't imagine it was easy. Did you have any formal training?
So in the beginning, you're basically just trying to be supportive, and you're asking questions to find out, about their lives and what kind of hobbies they have. And even though these people are very different, they're different generation from you, they're different heritage, different backgrounds, different social status, all sorts of things. But when you start talking to them, people are people, and you do actually find some things in common where you both have an appreciation for something, or appreciation for, whether it's books or, shows or whatnot. And as for, having any sort of formal training, I would say that, all I got was a list of, 5 things to tell you what not to say, and maybe 5 things of what to say. But for me, my training actually has come through my entire life's experience of coming to Sangat, doing Seva and Simran. These things that we try to imbibe in our lives, these are the things that have produced the skills to allow you to connect to other people. You talk about listening skills, you talk about empathy, you talk about respect. All of these things have come because I've spent time sitting in Sangat. I've had the opportunity to do Seva. So it's actually, the mission has provided that training for me.
Your experience, Puneet, really provides a valuable example in terms of practical spirituality and devotion. I recall Satguru Mata Sudikhsha ji emphasizing that any action which encompasses God's love is a form of devotion. Her Holiness specifically gave the example of phoning others, be they friends, family or anyone, as a way of expressing Nirankar's love.
I must admit that I've often taken it for granted as to how much Sangat has helped me, and particularly in my professional life as well. Totally agree with that. Well, Puneet, don't go away. We still want to hear more from you. We are now going to move on to our next guest.
Joining us now, we have Sonarika from Leicester, who has a background in psychology and well-being. Sonarika, welcome, and Dhan Nirankari ji. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast thus far.
Nirankari ji, absolutely, Brother Pri. It's been so wonderful to hear the thoughts today. And what a beautiful topic, love. I feel like we could talk about this for a lifetime, and even that wouldn't be enough. I could relate to what Brother Puneet just shared, because I too wondered, how can I help during this time? What can I do to spread love? Alongside my day-to-day role, I am a mental health first aider, and during this time, I have been volunteering to try and help and support those in need. It's been so inspiring and such a blessing to be able to help, and when helping, I could feel a part of me being healed as well. The last individual I supported, I remember feeling so much love between me and this individual, and they shared how they haven't smiled in weeks, and they felt they could smile again, and they were thanking me. But I was saying no, thank you, because you have actually helped me. That's what they say. The language of love is universal, and we're all one global family and all in this together. And I'm sure Brother Puneet will agree that you always gain by giving.
Sunarika, lovely to have you with us. Love has various benefits, as we know. Perhaps you can enlighten us as to why love is so important to living, in terms of our well-being.
Well, actually, science proves that love really is a boon to your well-being, and it's linked to having a healthier heart, a longer life, and a happier life too. They say that the secret to happiness is love. I was thinking about what I love to do, and I was thinking, I love eating chocolate. Now, it's proven that when you do something that you love, such as eating chocolate, it releases feel-good chemicals such as endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and these contribute to our happiness, which is why I probably can't just stop at one. So actually, love keeps us healthy and happy. So let's all take a dose of love.
Sunarika, absolutely love the idea of eating more chocolate. And we definitely all need a dose of love for sure. One thing that does come to mind is that we often hear this term, self-love. And at the moment, it seems very popular and a key point of discussion between many people. However, for me, it could be interpreted as being selfish. What do you think?
Self-love is most certainly not selfish. The most important relationship that you have is the one that you have with yourself, because it sets the tone for every other relationship that you have. A quote springs to mind, "You cannot pour from an empty cup." And when I first read this quote, I thought, Sunarika, what is in your cup? There's a story of a man who's walking with a cup of hot coffee and he gets pushed, and what spills? Coffee, because that was what was in his cup. Similarly, whatever we have inside us is what will spill out of us. If we are filled with love, only love can flow out of us. Her Holiness Raj Mataji once shared, "Be like a bag of sugar. Wherever you are poked, only sugar will spill." The journey of self-love is different for us all. Whatever makes you happy and whatever fills you with love, only you truly know. I know for me, self-love is a combination of many things. For example, forgiving myself at each step of the way, talking to myself with positivity, and not being too hard on myself, being the little perfectionist that I am. It's about discovering and doing things that make me truly happy and that release my feel-good chemicals and that make me smile. And smiling reminds me of something that I recently read, that the mere act of smiling reduces blood pressure, lowers stress hormones, and boosts mood. Let's recognize and appreciate our unique selves, because Nirankari has created each and every one of us so perfectly different. And if we believe Nirankari's creation is so wonderful, we are part of his creation too. Surely we must all be wonderful too. Let's also remember that self-love is a journey, and at each step, let's be kind to ourselves. If the most important relationship in life is the one that you have with yourself, it's up to us to make it a good one.
Thank you, Sunarika. Being kind to yourself and loving yourself. It's the whole concept that charity begins at home. Some really insightful words there. Thank you.
Sangeeta, all this discussion of self-love makes me think, no wonder so many spiritual teachers have placed emphasis on love and knowing oneself. In fact, Satguru Mata Sudikhsha ji is continuously reminding us today that Brahmagyan, this God knowledge, is the key to self-realization and is the key to self-love. Sunarika's reference to the bag of sugar reminds me of Satguru Mata Sudikhsha ji's words relating to loving God through losing yourself in God's love, in the same way as sugar dissolves and loses itself in water. It feels like when we know and love God, we can truly know and love ourselves, because as Babaji often stated, God is love and love is God.
Yes, Preet. Talking about Babaji, his words always come to mind. If you love someone who loves you, what's so great in it? Greatness lies when you love somebody, even when they don't love you back. Is it really possible for us to have that same limitless love that Babaji showered? For example, how do we love such people who have caused us pain?
I absolutely love the quote you just mentioned, and I vividly recall His Holiness Babaji's words in relation to greatness. If I reflect upon my own life, there have been people that I have loved, but who have hurt me. If I am totally honest, I'm not at a stage where I can say that I love them. However, one positive is that I do not feel hatred or negativity toward them, and I really feel that this is directly because of Satguru's teachings, the spiritual journey I am on, and the company that I keep. Coming back to Babaji's words, the challenge for me is how do I get to the end destination of loving such people who have hurt me or who do not love me? It's a challenge for me.
Preet, I think it's important not to be so hard on yourself. After all, life is a journey of continuous learning and building your relationship with God. In my view, the fact that you don't have hatred and don't have negativity, that's a positive thing and definitely a step in the right direction.
You are absolutely right. And in fact, Satguru Mataji's key message for us all, even before COVID, has been for us to continuously improve ourselves and to strengthen our personal relationship with Nirankar. In this regard, how do you strengthen your relationship with God?
For me, I like to thank Nirankar as much as I can, even for the smallest of things. In this way, I feel gratitude increases my love for Nirankar, and in turn, I find my relationship blossoms. Puneet, what about you? We haven't heard from you in a while. How do you strengthen your relationship with Nirankar?
There's probably two things. The first is, the company of spiritual people. Spending your time around positive people, spiritual people, people that have faith. These are the kind of things that have helped me build my relationship with Nirankar. The other, I would say, is through reading and through listening. I'll read a fair amount of spiritual books. Probably my favorite is actually the Gita. There's a version called A Westerner's Walkthrough, which I think is probably one of the best for people whose primary language is English. And they're my sources of inspiration to continue and to maintain that relationship with Nirankar.
Those are some really insightful ways of relationship building.
Definitely. Puneet's given some great tips. In fact, this entire podcast has given me great inspiration, and everything I've heard today has been really thought-provoking. Some of the key messages that I will be taking away with me include that in order to love others, I need to love myself first. Secondly, to love myself, there is a need to love the source of love, i.e. Nirankar. And then to love Nirankar requires accepting the divine will of Nirankar.
Accepting divine will resonates with me the most. Love is about acceptance and surrender, and for me this is the key to building my relationship with Nirankar, the source of love.
That reminds me of Mata Savinderji's quote, where she expressed that Ishq Hakiki, the one rule of true divine love, is to accept the Almighty completely, and in doing so, you accept everything that the Almighty does.
From what I have learned today, I am going to try and practically project this divine love and build this relationship with God by firstly maintaining a connection with those enlightened people who uplift me, In turn, I need to aspire to become more positive in order to uplift others. Puneet's experience of phoning others is a really practical way to achieve this. I can phone friends, and equally I can reach out to those in need to make new friends. Secondly, reading more broadly is important to aid my spiritual development. Babaji placed great importance upon this, and in particular encouraged us to read the mission's literature. This is something I have started to do, but need to do more of to continuously learn and to grow spiritually. In fact, Her Holiness Satguru Mata Sudikhsha ji has also emphasized the need to continuously learn from everything and everyone. Kan kan se siksha. In this regard, Satguru Mata Sudikhsha ji Maharaj has blessed us with so many avenues to learn from, be it videos, electronic audiobooks such as Mere Hardev, or other multimedia platforms that are available on the mission's website, such as News Divine, Kids Divine, and now with Satguru Mataji's grace, Soul Vibes. Finally, reflecting on Sunarika's experience, it is key for me to actively spread love and express it through my actions. On my journey, this will help me to become more selfless and giving. If I do this, everything else will fall into place with Satguru Mata Sudikhsha ji's grace.
It's all with Satguru Mataji's grace. It is now time to say goodbye. We will love you and leave you well in time. A huge thanks to our guests for sharing their experiences with us, and our heartfelt gratitude to Satguru Mataji for gifting us with Soul Vibes.
We hope everyone has enjoyed this podcast and hope you are as excited as we are for the next edition. With Satguru Mata Sudikhsha ji's blessings, Soul Vibes will be streaming virtually again next month.
Goodbye for now, and
Sant Nirankari.